Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be showing you how I do custom eyes for my rainbow eye dolls. First I just want to preface this by saying I'm not a content creator. I've never made a video before, so the production value is going to be low. Don't judge me. I'm also not an expert doll customizer. This whole process is just something I created over a lot of trial and error, so if I get a bunch of good feedback for how to improve this process, I'll put it in the description. So just keep an eye out for that. So I'm going to be demonstrating with Brianna here. This is a Brianna that has her normal factory eyes, of course. They're purple, which I really don't like. That's one of my pet peeves is purple eyes on characters that are otherwise pink. So I'm going to be changing it to this cotton candy pink color. That's the same color as her hair. I'll put a photo on the screen so you can see it better. So the first thing I'm going to do is use a hair dryer or whatever you like to use and pop her head off her body and get her eyes out of her head. Okay, now that I've gotten the eyes out, I'm going to take my tiny little screwdriver and separate the front and back pieces of the eyes. Careful not to slip and gouge yourself. I noticed when I took this eye out that it came pre-cracked, so that's just great. But whatever, it's not really noticeable. So you can just put the eyelash pieces aside because we're not going to use them until we're nearly done. Then with these pieces, you want to take a pair of tweezers and take off as much of the factory eye chip as you can. That's about as much as I can usually get because this part does not want to come off. But that's okay. Then what we're going to do is get a small lidded container, make sure that it's airtight, and then I'm going to fill the bottom with isopropyl alcohol. This is the one I'm using. And then we're just going to soak the front part of the eyes in isopropyl alcohol for about 3 days. Might be able to get away with 2, but let's just do 3. And then at the end of the 3 days, the front of the eye, the iris, will be really easy to take off. You don't have to scrub at it or anything. So 3 days. Okay, now that it's been 3 days, I'm gonna take the eyes out and just gently pull this off. It should just come literally right off. Set it down. And I like to just set them down and leave them and not touch them again until they're completely dry. So that way I can see what I need to do about the eye white. See, I can already tell I need to fix that up a lot. Okay, they've been sitting for a day now, and I've decided that for this one, I'm going to just completely soak it and take all the paint off and repaint it because I see it's chipping away from the iris area a lot, and that's kind of hard to fix. And since it's like on both sides, I just might as well repaint the whole thing. For this one, I'm gonna try to clear that corner and just repaint that corner maybe and see if that works. So I'm just gonna put this one back in here and leave that for a couple hours or a day and then repaint that. Okay, I just took this out of the container. I'm just gonna, I like to use my electric toothbrush with a separate bristle head just for this and clean all of the white off. Okay, I got all the white off. Now I'm also going to take this time to clean with alcohol. Okay, now I'm gonna do about 4 layers of acrylic paint on this eye. Want to start with thin layers and build it up. I'm gonna do that corner off screen so I can put my face right up to it and not mess up. 1 second. Okay, I think that's good for a first layer. It's so hard to tell like where exactly that corner ends. I think that's good enough. Okay, so I finished painting these off camera. I did about 4 or 5 layers of white acrylic paint. So I have my little printed irises. So I'm just gonna cut them out. I leave the top part so I have something to hold on to when I'm gluing these. It doesn't have to be perfect, like there's a little bit of white on the end, like it's okay. And then what I like to do is I like to place them face down on the edge of a rim. So it's when I'm gluing, it's just easy to pick them up and place them. Okay, before I go ahead and place these myself, I just want to give some quick tips so you can place these correctly and not mess it up. I think first of all, I think you should practice without the UV. I think you should use like Mod Podge or varnish or whatever clear glue you want to use. I don't really know. I've used those two. I think you should practice with those first and with like regular paper that's porous and will dry through the paper. Some tips for good placement. You want to make sure that you can see the bottom rim around on the actual eyepiece. You want to make sure that the rim is even. You also can look at for the angle. You want to make sure you can see this upper shadow part. You can see about an even amount on the left and right. And you also want to look at these 2 eye glints and make sure they have the angle that you want. So figure out how you want to place them and be ready to do it quickly. Okay, now that I've gotten these placed, I'm just gonna cut the excess off the top. Okay, now put the eyes back together. I'm gonna use my shirt so I don't have to touch the front. I didn't get the placements perfect, but it'll have to do. Then put them in your doll. All right, here's the final product. Brianna with pink eyes. Okay, so now I want to give you guys just a few quick tips on how to use my Procreate files if you want to design your own eyes, and also just give some basic Procreate tips for anyone who wants to use these but maybe you haven't used Procreate before. You can use Procreate on iPads, and they also have a version of the app for iPhones if you just want to do it on your iPhone. So this file is my 3B type eye design file. I just used my design that I made for Lilac for this. So everything in this file, every element is separated into its own layer. So that makes it really easy to do things like recolor elements independently of each other. You can move, resize, or warp elements independently of each other. You can change the order in which the layers are layered on top of each other. And you can also easily add stuff in between different elements without messing anything up. So to open all the layers, you'll press this button, and to expand a folder, you press that button. So I have it separated into left eyes and right eye. So for example, if you wanted to change the color of these spiky things, you would go into the layer, select it, and then choose a color. In the top right, I'm just going to use bright green so you guys can see it easily. And then you would drag the color to the element, and you might need to drag it to the right so that it so that it fills in the whole layer like that. It's a little finicky. To move the element, you will press the select button, and then you can move it like this. You can also change the rotation like that. You can flip it horizontally or vertically, or you can warp it if you just want to change it a little bit like that. To undo, you just tap the screen with 2 fingers. To redo, you tap the screen with 3 fingers. I just want it to be how it was before, so I'm going to undo all that. To change the order in which the elements are layered, I'm just going to demonstrate this with the rim piece, which is right here. It's this piece. So in the factory eye chips, the factory MGA's designs, I think they almost always, if not always, have the rim on top of everything else. But I just decided to put it underneath this shadow piece. But if you wanted to change that to make it more like MGA's designs, you would select the layer and then just drag it up like this, and that'll put it on top of everything else. But I'm gonna leave it how it was. The thing you'll be probably adding the most is different colors underneath or on top of this spike piece. So I made this folder specifically for that. So for example, if we want to add a splash of green, I would create a new layer and then select the paintbrush, and then I'm just going to go ahead and scribble around right here. I'm not left-handed. Now that's a little harsh, so I want to blur it out a little bit. You can do that really easily if you go into the adjustments. I use Gaussian blur, and then just hold down and drag it to the right to blur it out. So blur it out as much as you want. And then to get rid of this extra green that's on the bottom, I would go into my layers, tap this layer, template layer that I made specifically for this, tap it, select it, go back into layers, select the green splash layer, and then drag down with 3 fingers, cut and paste, and that separates out the stuff that we don't need just really easily. And you can also use that if you want to add like a splash to the rim or a splash of color to the spiky pieces. Instead of selecting the template layer, you would select whatever, the spikes or the rim or whatever you want. Let's see. Then when you're done and you got the design how you want it, you will select the entire thing, drag down with 3 fingers, copy all, go back into your gallery, and then create a new canvas with custom dimensions. What I think works the best is just whatever inches dimensions of whatever you're gonna print, just multiply that by 1,000 and you'll get your pixel dimensions like that. So for example, for like Walgreens photo, whatever photo you print at, you can probably just use 4 by 6 inches, and so you would do 4,000 by 6,000 pixels. Okay, then you'll want to paste your design in, and then you'll need to resize it. I'll put all my pixel heights for the different eye types on the screen for any canvas that's inches times 1,000 for pixels. But keep in mind these are approximate. I found that different places might like slightly resize your image, so I would just recommend testing your eyes before fully committing with resin. But for 3B eyes, we're going to change the height to 327 pixels. And then you're done. Then you can save the image and print it wherever you print photos.